Hello, Alika.
Hello, Mary.
Welcome to A Cup of Tea with Mary B.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I just always love sharing with you, so I am excited about today.
I really am. Now, Alika is a fantastic health and nutrition energy coach. She's a restaurateur. She's a consultant. She's got a magnificent community, gorgeous environment called Discover Everton in Everton Road, which I've had the pleasure of visiting. And I invited you today because I really want you to share your magnificent story, because the objective of this podcast is really to share ordinary people, of course no one is ordinary, who do extraordinary things. And you've had an amazing journey to date. Yeah. And I thought it'd be really interesting for my listeners to hear about your journey, your courage, your resilience, and how you keep bouncing back. And also about your businesses, which is so many. And I thought it'd be really great if we get time for you to share some maybe nutrition health hacks for us busy mums and working dads out there that can really help ourselves and our family too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's so lovely to hear of somebody else who mirrors back you, because sometimes I don't even realise what I'm doing, you know. So yeah, it'd be good to share.
So tell us how you've come to Singapore and your journey. And
I mean, look, I've been in Singapore now for 14 years. Originally, it was more from being born and raised in England. I kind of had this indoctrination that England was somewhere where I get my education and then I go and see the world. And so I think it was more to escape England. But how it came about was a transfer for the company I was working for at the time. So I used to be in HR, consulting, I used to be in recruitment, and I had the opportunity to transfer with the company that I was working for at the time.
And then what happened? So you came here, you arrived in Singapore, you discovered Asia, and then what happened?
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's just funny how life is already guiding you and has a plan for you, and you know, you think you've got it all sorted. So in my head, I was going to come here, I was going to build my career, and I was going to probably go back to England as this successful businesswoman having conquered Asia. And really what happened was I took all of the parts of me that hadn't had chance to heal, and they somehow came out like very fast in a new environment. And what that looked like was burnout. So I burnt out very fast. And when I went looking for answers, the answers were to really look at my self-care. And so I went the traditional way at first, thinking that I had to eat less, exercise more. And I remember sat in front of my first functional medicine doctor, and I remember her saying to me, "This is going to be a bit difficult for you, but I want you to trust me when I say exercise less." And then at the same time, I had a personal trainer, and the personal trainer, I noticed that all our sessions, I was so much more interested in talking about the food side than I was about what she was showing me. And so I actually went on to do a nutrition course, because I was like, I can't use my personal training sessions asking her all about the food side. Now, I'd always been a foodie. So I'd always been the person that recommends the newest restaurant. You know, at breakfast, I'm thinking about lunch. At lunch, I'm thinking about dinner. I'd always been in that world. 3rd generation Caribbean, 4th generation Costa Rican. Grown up spending summers in Spain. So Caribbean and Spanish culture also is about family and food. And so that led me to study at the largest nutrition school in the world. That led me to start my executive health coaching business with a focus on nutrition. And then from there, within 9 months of starting that business, I realized that people needed really help in the food side in Singapore and where to eat. So I opened up an organic restaurant with very, very little thought, to be honest with you, just a burning desire in my heart to show people what it's like to eat wholesome, minimally processed or home-cooked foods. And so I opened that restaurant up, and, you know, there came many, many challenges, which led to my second burnout. And in my second burnout, that's when I realized that the part of my own personal growth journey that had been missing was the inner work, the work on my mindset, my belief systems, all of those deep things, or a lot of the amazing work that you do. And all of that, oh my gosh, I'd met you before. All of that was the true bit that meant that even though I'd started my second business was successful, inside I was being torn apart. And obviously I had my second burnout. So with the will of the universe, I managed to sell that business successfully. And that was 2 weeks before COVID hit, which gave me 1 year to reflect on every part of my journey, every part of the inner journey that I hadn't done enough on, and everything that the universe had kind of guided me on, and all the patterns of behavior that I'd seen show up in my life, in my corporate career, in my own business, in my personal relationships, all the patterns of self-sabotage. And it got me a chance to look at that without this, you know, go, because I'd worked since the age of 11. And, you know, I had 1 year out in my whole career. I remember in my corporate role, I remember I hadn't had a day off in 11 years of working, and then I had half a day off because I went into work so sick I was sent home. So, I had all of these beautiful hindsights and reflections and the opportunity and the resources to be able to take time out. And then the pieces came together to build a community. And that's really what my current business, Discover Everton, is about, as well as me working one-on-one with ambitious business leaders who want more energy.
Wow, what a journey. What a journey. Thank you for sharing that, 𝙗𝐸𝐴. So I'm just curious, if I wind the clock back, a few things jump out there for me. One, you mentioned that you came to Asia and the healing needed to happen here.
Yeah.
But even before that, you've been working since the age of 11. So tell me about that. I'm curious about that young 𝙗𝐸𝐴.
Absolutely. I was raised by a single parent with 3 children. My mom was also a very, very ambitious and driven woman. And most people that know me, know her, will say we're very similar. And, she had children very young. And I think she used that to spur her career. And so she got a scholarship at a very young age. And what that meant was I became an adult very quick.
Okay.
Because as she was studying and working as a mom, I basically took on a lot of responsibilities. So I was a middle child. I remember when my mom was working, I loved food. And so I got into the cooking side very quickly so I could help with the cooking. I could help look after my younger brother. And I just had this kind of very old head, and I took on responsibility fast. And then me and my mom had a lot of challenges growing up. We were just clashing all the time because actually we were very similar. And I was always very outspoken and I would always say what I thought. And so I remember I thought, as soon as I can provide for myself, that's what I will do. I will never, ever have to rely on anybody else for me to be able to provide myself. And I built in that belief system. And of course, and that's what I set out to do. And so as you know how that works, so I made sure that, I would never have to rely on anybody else myself, because I felt extremely vulnerable being in a situation where I was doing a lot of things to help and support the family. But at any whim, it wasn't, it was down to how my mom was at that time, what she was going through, and I couldn't be like that. So when I went to university, I moved out of home to go to university, and from then, that was it. I became the kind of very driven, type A, going to build my own success on my own terms. Yeah.
But you can really understand, and I know you know this from the great, deep inner work that you've been doing for yourself and for others, is that inner programming that you get as such a young child, those belief systems, and the role model that you had. You saw a mum really working hard, trying to be successful, be financially secure. So you grow up as a child thinking, so that's what I have to do too.
Absolutely.
And then unless something like a burnout, some sort of significant emotional event happens, we tend to carry on with that programming, don't we?
Absolutely.
And until we get some rewiring and reprogramming, saying a little bit, who we are now, who we're becoming in the future.
Absolutely.
What's my belief system that I need now that's going to help me? And my value system too, actually.
Yeah,
wow.
And it's so deep, isn't it, Mary? The programming, it really is like the software that is driving the computer, because you don't even realize all the things that it's doing.
Yes.
But it's like, when I've gone through, and I always say my own personal growth journey is forever. And I just love it and passionate and probably a bit too addicted to it. But, it's because when you realize that there is a program that has been running that you weren't aware of, and that is how that's been impacting every area of your life, and that you can take charge of reprogramming. I mean, why would you not want to do that?
I know, exactly. But I think people don't know you can do it. And then how do you do it?
Yes.
And so I suppose that's where people like us come in and help people there. I think that's why I love, one of the many reasons I love my toolkit, particularly, the inner work that I do, that we can go in and reprogram and change. And of course, when we change our belief systems, we change how we feel about the world. And guess what? We get different results. So you had your first burnout.
Yeah.
And I mean, how did that impact you?
My first burnout made me start looking for a different approach to what my career would be.
Just before that, 𝙗𝐸𝐴, I'm just curious, what was a burnout? So how did it manifest for you physically, I suppose?
Absolutely. I mean, the typical symptoms of burnout are lack of motivation, constantly getting sick, exhausted. You might be getting sick regularly, memory issues, tired, all these. And so for me, a lot of it was feeling overweight, feeling sluggish, lack of motivation, lack of the drive that I normally have. Right. And just like this feeling like when you walk or when you move through life, that something is heavy is pulling you back.
Okay. It's really interesting as well about burnout, and I know I've seen lots of posts about this, that historically burnout was seen as a badge of honor. Yeah. Whereas now we're saying you don't have to get to that. You can be proactive, not reactive. And of course, knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
So you got the burnout. So that manifested. You'd only had like a half day off in 11 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is significant hard work.
Yeah. I was always this person that was first in, last out, definitely last out. You know, one of my other programming was to work really late into the night. So if the office had closed, you could bet that I was good friends with the security because I would be there with lights out.
Wow.
You know? So that was my programming, and I did not work smart. I worked hard. So yeah, I did that for many, many years, and I am naturally, physically and internally an extremely resilient person.
You are.
So I was able to do that a lot longer than most people can.
I was going to say, for you to do that for that period of time just shows that resilience and determination.
Yes.
So again, the great things you inherited from your mum,
Yes.
you know, that programming. So you had that burnout. So what happened in that time? You left work or what?
So what happened was, I remember there was a goal that I was working to in my corporate career, and I'd made a lot of money for the companies that I'd worked in, but it was never enough for me and never enough for them. And of course, because it was never enough for me, it definitely wasn't enough for them. And so I was on that rat race. And so I remember one goal that I'd achieved, which meant a promotion. And I remember sat in my boss's room, and I remember him saying to me that I wouldn't get it because even though I'd overexceeded this financial revenue goal that we'd achieved, he still felt that I was a one-trick pony and I'd never worked in other environments, and therefore I needed to learn more before I could do that. Because I'd built my career in a certain industry, in a certain area. And so, I mean, this was like whole news to me, right? And obviously, how can I do that still working for that company? So it was like I'd been given something that was an unattainable goal now. So it just broke me. Like, it literally broke me in that moment because I felt like I'd been really clearly working for this vision, and somebody just took that away from me.
Wow.
So I remember in that moment, at that point, I was being headhunted also to work for competitors. So it was the first time, and I'm an extremely loyal person. So it was the first time I said, I'm going to attend that interview. So I went for the interview, and honestly, the right people, it was actually the right managers at the right time. And in that interview, I felt seen, understood and recognized.
And heard.
I really did.
On that, it's really interesting because I get quite a few clients that come to me that have had like a significant change at work, not their choice, a little bit, you know, same sort of thing. I've been sidestepped, or I haven't given the career option, or exactly, no one's ever communicated their vision for my career was different from mine.
Yes.
And I say to them when they sit in my magic chair, because it is a magic chair, because what you wish for can come true. I say to them, what a gift. And they go, what do you mean, what a gift? I went, I can guarantee, and I'm sure you'll say this now, Alika, if that person hadn't done that or said that to you at that time, you would not be where you are today.
Absolutely.
But we don't always see it as a gift at the time.
Of course.
But I would say 99%, I'm 90 with all my clients, 100% of the time, they've ended up in better jobs, better relationships, things that are tuned more aligned with who they are.
Absolutely. I'd spent 11 years in consulting, refining my skills in that area, being the largest revenue producer that I could in that particular area. And when I'm told that I'm a one-trick pony, of course, I mean, I quit. I started a coaching business. I opened a restaurant. And now it seems like I'm, you know, an events manager because I'm now running events. And these are 3 completely different areas. But yeah, of course it was a gift.
But isn't it interesting, and it happens again, very common, some of the clients that come to visit me, how other people put a limit on your career.
Yes.
In their head, they had decided you're a one-trick pony.
Absolutely.
But actually, they hadn't even given you an opportunity to go, look, I'm more than this. Or in fact, give me some, I'm making lots of money for you.
Yes.
So that's okay, is it? But if I then ask for something back from you, you're saying you're limiting me. So again, for me, that speaks about your courage, your resilience and your determination. Like, you don't determine my future. I determine my future.
Yeah. I think honestly, that one conversation, that was it. I mean, it was like, it was done. Like, I'm so loyal in this, and it
was a value cross, wasn't it?
Yeah,
if you've got loyalty and that's crossed your values, I call it Zorroed your values.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Well done, you. So you got headhunted. They
headhunted, and then at the same time, I was obviously starting to look after my myself, and so I started the nutrition course. I went to study at the largest nutrition school in the world. It's called IIN, which is part of New York University, and I started learning all about these different parts of my health journey. So I essentially went on a journey of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, bit by bit. And this was where, you know, the first bit was so amazing because I was like, all into this nutrition, you know, I cut out everything, lost so much weight. And I just wanted to save the world on nutrition, right? And then I start this new career, of course, and I'm well rested because they put me on garden leave. So now this is the first time I've ever not worked since the age of 11.
Wow.
Right? Now I'm like, garden leave, and that was torturous for the first 1 month, and then I surrendered and allowed myself to.
I can imagine you find it quite torturous initially.
I begged not to put me on garden leave. I couldn't understand it. I begged. But anyway, it was, of course, a grace. I got to do all of this beautiful work. And then, I started the coaching business. And through the conversations there, my ambition to achieve more was still there. Yeah. So I am here having these one-on-one beautiful sessions with the clients and teaching them everything that I learned on my own journey and everything that I've learned for myself and helping them. But still seeing the bigger picture of what they needed. So I opened the restaurant, and when I opened the restaurant, within the first...
I just need to, because I think you said, and I opened a restaurant.
I know.
So hold on a minute, let's just take that.
I know.
So you know about nutrition, you're passionate about it, you've made personal changes to your body, you're teaching people, you're sharing your wisdom, and it's making a difference for them, but you go, it's still not enough, which I understand.
Yeah.
And then you decided to open a restaurant. So give me that story, because you're in Singapore, and I know I've been in Singapore 13 years now.
Yes.
Fantastic, love it. But when I came here, you couldn't get a salad.
Yes.
Like, there was no shops that sold salads, which sounds crazy. There was like very little organic food, etc. And over the years, it's changed a lot. So you decided to open a restaurant. Tell us about that journey, because that's a huge endeavour on its own.
It is. Look, I think when you open yourself up to more possibilities, the right people and the right things and the right opportunities come your way, right?
Correct.
So that's what happened to me. So here I am coaching. So now I'm meeting people that are into the wellness space and health and like-minded. So, at the time I actually met a couple, and we had the same mission to really help people when it came to nutrition. And so they inspired me. To do something that I wouldn't have done, which was to actually open a restaurant. And honestly, at the time, I thought I was just going to be an investor. Now, unfortunately, we started a partnership that didn't work out. Okay. So here I came in as an investor. And then within 3 months, I end up having to take control of the whole business because I was sole investor. So I knew very quick from my business background, I was about to lose all of the money that I had. I also had, at the time I was married, now we're divorced. And at the time, my partner, he had been very, very supportive in the 𝙀𝙏𝙀 journey, but it also very, very clear that this wasn't a good thing to do. So unfortunately for him, that spurred me even more, because kind of like, if you tell me I can't, I'm kind of, you see the pattern?
Do you not know me?
Yeah. So now here I am. So basically within 3 months of running the restaurant, I am sat in my restaurant with no chefs, and basically no staff, because what's happened is I found out that my cashier is stealing from me. I've spoken to my kitchen team and partners, and I found out that they know that, and I'm being positioned in a place where if I don't allow that to continue in that way that I'm uncomfortable with, that I'm not going to be able to have the existing team. So I had to make a decision that, morally, that I couldn't continue in the business. And let's
just think that loyalty is one of your key values. Yeah. So total disloyalty is shown there. So it's crossing your values,
So basically that day, everybody left, and I sat in a business looking at it going, I'm not sure how I'm going to survive this, but I know I can't continue in the way it was. So that was 3 months into opening a restaurant.
Wow.
Of course, when I opened the restaurant, there was all the challenges that I had to learn, how to interior design, how to build it from scratch, how to create a menu and all of that. But the truth is, with the business background and all of the training that I'd had in corporate world, that bit, I could do. So
tell me, you're telling me the factual stuff. So how are you feeling at this time? I mean, again, like, how did you get that get up and go to go, wow, look at what's happened here. I've invested time and money, and let's say, time is as important as money, into a new business venture with people I thought I could trust to deliver for me. So what was your thought process, your mindset at that time, Alika?
One thing I will say that, is really clear to me now, because I'm very clear on who I am and where my gifts can be in the world, is I am somebody that feels the fears that everybody else has, but I don't let those fears, the conscious fears anyway, get in the way. And I'm also very visionary. So as soon as I have a burning desire in my heart that I want something, or I see something that feels like, oh my God, I could have that, all of the pieces in between that usually stop people as they analyze and overanalyze, I don't even look at that.
I call them over-analyzing.
Yeah. So here I am, right. I'm always, and there's as you know, all of our strengths sometimes can be our weakness. Yeah. So sometimes I miss all of the details because I'm so focused on achieving the bigger goal. But I tell you, in that moment, I remember sat in the restaurant just thinking, and even getting it, let's just get the restaurant open. What do we need? Who do we need? And calling and getting people together. And I was just on go. I wasn't stopping or reflecting or anything. In this period of time, you have to understand, in 1 year, I changed jobs. Obviously, I left that position. I went to a competitor. I actually got married. The day after the wedding, I signed for my physical space. I came back 2 weeks after honeymoon. I came back, opened up and started the construction work on this physical space, left my other job because I decided to focus on this full time, and did all of this within a year. So I was just going.
So because you'd had the first burnout, what were some of the lessons that were still missing for you then for you to go headlong again? If it sounds to me, it's like the pace was just as fast, just
Absolutely.
in a different environment. So what were the lessons that you know now that were still missing then, I wonder?
Yeah, I think there were quite a few. I think one was a lot of the drive had been coming for this success that I needed to prove something, as opposed to this internal desire to work from my soul's desire, to work from what was my true calling of what I'm here to do in the world.
Purpose, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is why in my own pillar, I do soul readings for my clients, because I know that one of the reasons they're burning out is that they're not doing what their soul came here to do. And if you're not doing what is really your soul resonates with, you will burn out because you're not aligned. And so that was one lesson. Another valuable lesson was the value of people. Because the truth is I made many mistakes with people, hiring the wrong people, hiring too fast, and also what people can do, because I could be like a machine. So I expect other people to be like a machine. So, my relationship with people and how that was another valuable lesson. There were so many. And I think, at this point, I'd made a huge shift in my own health and well-being. I had shifted my diet from a lot of processed food. I had all the addictions that a lot of the high-achieving executives have. So I would namely say alcohol, sugar, and caffeine. And I had all of those that were fueling me in my corporate world to continue to achieve at that level.
Which was completely driving your adrenaline, cortisol.
Absolutely.
Burnout. I mean, knowing what you know now, you go writing on the wall.
Absolutely. So my burnout, I had insomnia, I had polycystic ovaries, PCOS, I had liver damage, and I was overweight.
Insomnia.
Yeah. So I had all of these when I had my burnout. So what happened was when I went on my own course and started learning nutrition and all the other lifestyles, I started changing all of those things. So I had already made a huge shift in my nutrition, in my diet, in my sleep, and all of those things. So I felt like I had done a lot, and that's why I was able to open the restaurant and drive and all that.
Right.
But I hadn't done my inner work, right?
Yeah.
I still hadn't done that.
Yeah.
So the lesson that I had was all to change all of, I would say, is a lot of the aesthetic health things.
And the external.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very externally driven I was. That got me to be able to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
But in the restaurant, when I had my second burnout, it's because I wasn't able to receive.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to receive help from others to understand. I wasn't able to rest and take true rest for myself. So therefore, I couldn't let others rest, and I couldn't rest myself, And I didn't trust at this point. I didn't trust that other people could look after my well-being, my safety, my security in the way that I needed to. And so because I didn't trust them, I took on everything as a personal project.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I still had a very big goal, which was to help people with their health through nutrition and to give them the food that they needed to fuel, because food had been a key part of changing my own health at that stage. So I still had this vision, but I felt that this vision of helping people in this way still had a lot of blocks from the missing internal work that I hadn't done on myself.
So how did you go about doing that internal work then?
Well, the truth was the second burnout came. And the second burnout came, with the restaurant being very successful. I was #1 Google search for healthy restaurants in Singapore.
Well done.
I was in every media opportunity. I had built a restaurant business with not even any experience of working part-time in a restaurant, based on a passion for food, right? And some relationships in the corporate world. And so the second burnout came because I couldn't let other people help me to run that business in the way that I needed to.
But is that delegation, isn't it?
Yes.
But if you haven't got the trust, or you don't build the trust, and the fear of letting go, if I let go, what could the impact be on someone who doesn't want to feel vulnerable? Why would I let go if I don't want to feel vulnerable? And it's like almost like a vicious circle then, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was controlling everything. And of course, therefore, I was attracting people that mirror all of those, that allow that. So, I remember one of the best managers I'd hired was a great Filipino guy from hospitality. And he just had the heart and the soul and the passion that I had. But the truth was, because he was such a pleaser, he would never really tell me what I needed to hear. And so him not telling me in the way that I needed to hear it, or just tell me full stop, meant that those messages that only he could tell me as my manager, I didn't actually hear.
Yeah.
And so there were many things, obviously I was attracting all of those things. The second burnout came in the second burnout, I remember just one time I actually took time out. One of the things that helped me a lot, and I traveled. And at this point, I was traveling indigenous cultures, and I was traveling all over the world, learning about food as medicine. So I've spent time in New Zealand with the Maoris, in Australia with the Aborigines, in India, in South India, learning Ayurvedic medicine. Obviously, I'd been 12 years at that time in Asia, and I'd been learning Chinese traditional medicine. I don't take Western medicine, so I learn a lot of plant medicine. And so I took this time out. And so my next trip was to I'd left India, and I took a trip to South America, and I took 3 months in Costa Rica, which I'm fourth generation Costa Rican, and I learned plant medicine, and I did something that's called ayahuasca, which is a very healing plant. And I went on this journey for 3 months learning the plant medicine and learning a lot about my ancestral roots with the plant. And
wow, that must have been amazing.
It was amazing. And it gave me the clear calling that I'd done what I needed to do, and it was time. So I came back to Singapore, and I basically said, I either find the manager that can run all of this, because I'm not supposed to be doing this, or I sell. And within 1 month, I believe I manifested 2 buyers, and I sold the restaurant, and I did a 6-month handover. And after the 6 months of completion of training their staff and doing the handover, I sold the restaurant. 2 weeks later, COVID hit. So that second burnout was the start of my inner work.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I think that Costa Rica trip and the ancestral and being in the country of your ancestors gives it a whole nother level and deeper meaning, doesn't it?
It did.
So enriching.
It really did.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Mary, you have to work. This inner work journey is also learning everything, right? As you know, it's learning your mind, who you are, your beliefs, your values. And here's the thing, I'd been raised in England as a black female in England from a mother who worked extremely hard, and also had been raised by an immigrant parent, because her mom was, Jamaican immigrant that come as a nurse to England.
Oh, yeah.
In the early 70s when they came.
Yeah.
And so when you work, especially third generation immigrant parents, they work you like you don't believe. And so I'd grown up with all of that. And my mom had never even gone to her roots, which was where her mom had been born. So I went on this journey, and I learned, I spent 1 month in Jamaica, spent 3 months in Costa Rica, and I learned so much about my DNA and my ancestral background. The Jamaicans were, we all started from Africa, so that at some point we all started there, but African slaves that were really rebellious, that wouldn't do what their masters were supposed to do, then got shipped to this island called Jamaica. And so these were the rebellious slaves. And those Jamaicans, they were then brought to Costa Rica, because Costa Rica was finding, as they were building the railway that built the Costa Rican economy, that made them one of the wealthiest countries in Central America. As they were building this railway that shipped out the bananas, shipped out Costa Rican coffee out of this country, they realized that the people that weren't dying were the Jamaicans. So they shipped all these Jamaicans in to help them build the railway. And when you understand that this is your DNA, there are so many things that I have done, how I have literally been like knocked down and jumped back up and just got back up. But when I know that this is my roots, I'm like, oh, but here's where the mindset has to shift. Just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Correct.
This was the work I had to do on myself.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting going back to that earlier programming and being a child of immigrants and knowing the people that came from the West Indies to England and London, where I was from, that, they did have something to prove. They'd left their homeland, so a very cold land as well, and had to send the money back. I mean, my family are Irish, and they immigrated to London, when at the time they weren't welcome. They went for lodging, like your grandparents.
There were no Irish, no blacks, no dogs.
No jobs, no Irish, no blacks, no jobs, And so the work ethic that we were given because of that, because of their background and what they had to face, because they came from some very meagre, poor, my family are farmers, in very rural islands. And so the work ethic has been in our family, again, very, very strong, that you have to provide.
Absolutely.
Because that's what they did. So you can see how it goes on throughout the family and ancestry. So you sold the restaurant, timely.
I took a year out, which was just... I've never done that. Just a year of just, you know what? I'm not going to work. I'm just going to heal. And I just spent the year working on my mind. I automated all of my coaching. into online programs so that I could create a legacy and create something that was scalable.
Yeah.
And the truth is, when I did that, at that time, I was like, I'm going to do this differently. And the truth was, I could have just, run that online coaching business. And I actually then started getting the pieces for Discover Everton, which is another private event space. So I'm very aware that at this moment in time, with the opportunity to just run an online business, which would have been the easy route, let's be honest, I still have created a physical space. And now my true job in my own journey still is to allow myself to have both of these businesses interacting with each other, an online coaching business and really helping ambitious business leaders to get more energy in all areas of their life, as well as an event space that builds and provides community and connection for people through experiences and not burn myself out.
Yeah. So instead of burnout, what do you want instead?
So, I mean, there's so many goals that I have for myself. I'm very driven, and I think at this moment in time, it's financial freedom. And how that comes and how it looks like is success personally and professionally. So whereas before I would have just been driven for the success professionally at the expense personally, now it's looking at the pillars of my life. And so with my clients, I do exactly what I do with myself, is I look at how do I personalize my nutrition so that I'm eating for energy? How do I look at my body and how I move and circulate energy every single day through my body? So that's my personalized movement plan. How do I look at my work and relationships? So I look at my soul. So I do soul readings for others. I obviously know my own soul reading. So I know my soul reading and I know that my soul is intention. And so it's how am I making sure that what I'm doing is fueled by what my soul came here to do? And in relationships, how do I make sure that I'm constantly in a tribe of people that are giving me energy and not taking energy away from me? So that's my third pillar, work in relationships. And my fourth pillar is mindfulness and self-care, which is how do I maintain small practices every day that allow me to maintain this level of energy? Because the truth is I always want to have the highest energy in the room.
Yep.
And I usually do because I'm constantly looking at these. And it's not in ways that people would think, Mary, as I came here to see you today, honestly, I could feel my energy lagging because it's my time of the month. And you know what I did? I did something that was really quite hard for me. It sounds so small, but I messaged my helper and I said, can you make me some chocolate brownies? One, because every single month I actually make a chocolate cake and I love making it myself and I want it a certain way. So two, giving her to do something for me like that.
You delegated.
Yeah. This was like, even I was like, oh, I hope she makes it the way that I want. But secondly, it's like I'm eating that because in that cake, we use 100% raw cacao. I don't use refined sugar. I put all my superfoods inside it. So it's a chocolate brownie, but I'm telling you, it is going to fuel me over the next couple of days in the way that I know that my body needs over the next couple of days of my cycle.
For me, it sounds like the self-compassion.
Yes.
From a critical part of the work that I do with clients is turning that self-criticism into self-compassion.
Yes.
Because that inner dialogue, that voice is always telling us what we can't do, or what we must do, or all of that. Yes. But when we start, like you've done in that pillar, is like, what is the self-compassion? And I agree,
yes.
Tiny little ways,
yeah.
Permission to rest,
yeah.
Permission to delegate,
yeah.
Permission to eat nutritionally, permission to go to bed early.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be cost or expensive.
No.
It's not always going off to a luxury spa.
Yeah.
It's actually having the lavender bath or
yeah.
whatever it is that the self-compassion yourself. And what I love about all the work you're doing as well is as we make these incremental changes over a period of time, they then become habits. When their habits are unconscious, and you start living your best life and that energy.
Absolutely. And it's like when I work constantly on my 4 pillars and that's why I coach around it.
Yeah.
And I always find there's always areas to elevate, right? I'm always. Like, I have just invested a large sum of money on a monthly basis for my new coach to help me through 2023, because I want to always be ahead of my clients in all of my 4 pillars. So I can help them in all of their 4 pillars so that they can have the most energy and to have success personally and professionally. But there's always more, right?
Oh, there's always more. I mean, I call myself an eternal student. I always want to be at the cutting edge of neuroscience, all of that. Because what's so exciting, I think, about the field that we're in, let's use well-being as a big umbrella title, is we're learning more and more all the time, and more of the scientific facts are backing up all that we've been intuitively knowing all the time. And I think when you talk about your soul work and alignment, I think it's that when you are aligned with your soul work, then things are more easy, things are more effortless. However, it takes work to get to that space.
Absolutely.
It's not always, I wake up and that's it, I found my soul purpose. You have to put the work in to get the results in anything.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my clients ask me about manifestation and I say, listen, to me, I'm not all the woo-woo. I mean, I used to be married to a rocket scientist, so believe you me, science was like all over. My mum's a lawyer, so I was brought up with a very logical brain, and I've had to do a lot to bring in this intuitive side of myself.
Correct.
But you need to have both. That is the truth. But I think, you know, the more and more that I work on this, the more and more I see that there is a way to manifest that I share. And it's a lot about knowing that every single thing that exists today was at one point a thought, right? Whether it be a car, us flying to the other side of the world.
Speaking my language.
Right? Every single thing that we have today, every physical thing, everything was a thought first.
It had to be in someone's imagination first.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the process that I'm always taking my clients through and myself through is if I have a burning desire in my heart, that means I believe I'm supposed to have it. Now I need to figure out what are the steps. And so guiding myself through the steps, and I have my own steps of taking it from a thought into a reality. And part of that is taking action.
I agree. I find the biggest lesson that people need to learn is what some people can do is start to do the planning before they've done the vision.
Yeah.
Because what we do then, as Michelangelo says, this is not verbatim, but he says, what we tend to do as humans is set goals that we won't fail at.
Yes.
So I always say to my clients, right, I know this is going to sound really like counterproductive here because again, I have the lawyers, the scientists, the doctors. Really counterproductive here. Counterintuitive. I said, what I want you to do is just dream, number one.
Yeah.
Just dream first. The how comes second. Because if you limit yourself to the how, because that's already known, you're not going to achieve necessarily what you're going to achieve. So absolutely, you manifest, but you can't sit in your backside eating a sandwich. You need to get out there and do something towards what you want. But the universe will rise up to meet you when you get that clarity, which is so amazing.
And it's so good you say that, because for me, it works in two folds, because I can take the action and not be limited by fears of all the little things that could go wrong to take it. So I find it very easy to just go and take the action. And so I have to literally do what you say and slow myself down and go, hang on a minute. This is the goal. Let's like flesh this out. You know, what does it feel like? What does it smell like? What am I doing? What, you know, like, what will I hear? What will I see? Like, I have to flesh that out so much, which is, you know, I have a women's mastermind as well. So obviously that's why the vision board workshop that I'm doing is also, it helps me do that bit.
I mean, the vision board, but the whole thing is, you know, the unconscious mind cannot differentiate between fact or fiction. So we have to give our unconscious mind the image, the clarity, the goal, what you can see, what you can feel, get all these senses in there, because the unconscious mind then thinks it's real, and funny enough, and then it comes quicker, and it comes true quicker. So I'm really into manifestation and vision board, as you can imagine, and because I've got so much evidence of success in my own life, so I'm way behind that, and got many vision boards on the go. You'll be good. So if I'm a busy working mum or a busy working dad, or I've got a family, what would be 3 nutrition hacks that we could do easily and effortlessly that will help us and therefore help educate our children too? What would that, I mean, I know there's many, but what are the 3 top ones you'd share with us really, Alika?
I think number 1 is your pantry should be a sanctuary. Your home should be perfection. I don't believe in perfection. And so what I know is when you go out, you can't control all these things. But even if your home is already full of toxic stuff, then you are literally setting yourself up for fail. So I think making your kitchen space, your food at home as best as you can is a great starting place. Then when you go outside, then you can allow, I believe in 80-20, so 80%, right? 80% of the foods that I eat are whole, minimal processed foods. So, and then outside, I can give myself that 20, but start with making your home full of the beautiful whole foods, the organic, wherever you can. Just try to make that at least your sanctuary.
Your pantry is your sanctuary. I love that. Okay.
Yeah. The second thing I would say is you have to understand that no doctor, no nutritionist, no dietitian is going to know your body better than you. So you have to learn how to feel, how does your body respond to certain things. So when you eat, does that meal, does that item make you feel like you have more energy, or does it take energy away from you?
I love that, because that is so true, because we've been so used to saying it's the doctor needs to find out X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And you know your own body. And I think one of the magnificent tools I've got in my ginormous toolkit is clinical hypnotherapy, because the whole mind-body connection, your body's always speaking to you. And we need to realign, reprogram that. So your body's always speaking to you. If you've got a rash, if you've got IBS, if you've got eczema, something's driving that. And it could be nutritionally, but it could be, you know, the mind too. So I love that. Nobody knows your body better than you.
Absolutely. You are your best medicine for sure.
I love that.
So with all that in place, obviously the third thing is I do then believe in getting help. Because, you know, there are some things like my accounting, like insurance, that honestly, I don't even know all the options that are out there. So to try and choose the best one for me, at least give me someone that knows all the options out there that can help me choose the one best for me. So it's not that I'm outsourcing this to them, but I'm working with them in partnership to optimize my nutrition, my family's nutrition, my home's nutrition, all of that. So I do then believe that you find the right person for you.
Yeah. From a nutritional point of view, once you found out what help you need, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely. And it is finding the right one, because there's so many, again, out there. It's finding out what's going to suit you best. But there is so much resources out there also that's free now, isn't there?
There is. And I think, you know, I see so many people that come, most people that come to me, if I'm being honest, have already worked with a number of people. They've worked with dietitians, they've worked with nutritionists, they've watched load of YouTube, lots of podcasts, and they've tried to piece things together and it's not worked. So usually the type of client that I'm working with is somebody that wants to look at a lifestyle and wants help in implementation.
And you know, this is it, because as we know, diets don't work. It's got the word die in it. D-I-E. Diets don't work. It has to be lifestyle, and it has to be those incremental changes over a period of time. Maybe some radical changes too, but then the incremental ones. So come to an expert to talk about those. Thank you for sharing those. They're brilliant. I love them all. So I want to ask some questions I ask all my guests, and I would like you to tell me, what advice or emotional support would you give to your 16-year-old younger self, 𝙀𝙚𝙚?
Wow, God, so much. I was so blind, I think. I think I would have to say that everything is happening for you, not to you.
Everything's happening for you, not to you. I love that.
Yeah, it was a fight against the world, I think, when I was younger. I really felt it was me against the world.
And you know, when you move through life knowing that and understanding that, then when these horrible blips and things come along, because they do, that's life. But if you can really hold on to it's happening for you, not against you, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to navigate through the world, isn't it?
And it's my biggest question that I ask myself anytime something comes up is, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
And the reframe every time I have an answer, and it helps me.
I have lots of learnings. What is the legacy thinking you want to leave the world's children?
I would definitely say it's that each and every one of us has a unique gift, and only we have that gift. So we've got to figure out how we can bring that gift to the world. And this has been said by many people in many different ways. But, you know, I don't have children right now. And so I know how easy it is to try to, as a parent, to try to put your dream on them. But like, this would be one thing that I know if I have children, that would be something that I'd have to remind myself of constantly, which is, and, you know, especially now, you know, I've read hundreds of souls in these souls readings that I do to help people find their purpose. And so when you literally see how beautiful it is that if that person just does that, and this person just does that, and this person does that, and you understand the dynamics of human beings, which is we are tribe people. We are social creatures. You understand that in a tribe, we have to have different roles in order to be successful. So, yeah, it would be that we all have these different gifts.
Yeah, and uniqueness of every individual. Love that. What are you most grateful for, 𝙀𝙚𝙚?
I think it is the lessons. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I am...
So that takes a courageous, strong lady to say that.
It is. But you know what, Mary? I show up in some spaces, in some rooms, and I can hold the space and hold myself and hold the challenge. I can hold so much. I have such a huge capacity to give to others, to transform others, and to see things that other people don't see because of my experiences.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, 𝙀𝙚𝙚, for a very nutritious, positive and uplifting conversation.
Oh, no, it's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
A real pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.